Hi everyone, and welcome to our daily show, The Big Story, where we discuss the hottest topics of the day, right here in the heart of the newsroom. My name is ALYSSA Wu, and I'm coming to you live from the Straits Times. We are streaming live right now on Facebook and YouTube, and if you're on YouTube, do click that bell button to be notified whenever we go live. I'll be joined very shortly by my newsroom colleagues, where we'll discuss the topics that got you talking today. For our first segment, the assassins most of us know about are fictional and the stuff of movies. Take, for example, Keanu Reeves as assassin John Wick, or Uma Thurman as the bride in Kill Bill. So it was with interest when it was reported last week that a Singaporean man attempted to engage a hitman on the dark web. On July 17, Alan Vincent Hui Kim Sing pleaded guilty to hiring a hitman to murder his former lover's boyfriend. To talk more about the dark web, we have Zaihan with us. Hi, Zaihan.
Hello.
Right. So the dark web is supposed to be anonymous, difficult to assess. But can you share how Mr. Hui got found out?
Basically, he wasn't aware that a group of online investigators and also a TV station in the US, they were looking into the matter of hitmen for hire, and they found out that it was all a scam. And even the owner of that website gave certain examples to say that, these people have approached me for business, And that's how it was one of the producers of CBS News 48 Hours. They contacted the authorities, our Singapore authorities in the US, and that's where it all got rolling in last year.
Yeah. So can you share very briefly what the dark web is, and were there any things that you saw on it that shocked you?
Well, basically, that it guarantees anonymity. At the same time, you need a special software to gain access. Yeah, but when you're inside, some of the things that you can see, people sell drugs. They give you samples first before you buy. People offer services like match fixing, data, stolen data. But not necessarily everything is bad. There are some good things, like you can find kittens for sale, or books about origami or so on. You can find those things there too.
Right, and to make it clear, you did not assess the dark web yourself. It was through a contact,
yes.
Right, who helped to find the things that you requested for, just because you were curious, right?
Yes,
to be clear.
of course, yeah.
Right. Okay, so in this case, thank goodness that Mr. Hui was trying to engage services on a fake hitman site, a fake assassination site. But what if it was a real one?
Well, coincidentally, 2 years ago, I interviewed a real hitman, and he and his group of about 10 hitmen, they were responsible for at least 300 killings overseas in the region. Yeah. So the strange thing was that he didn't look like any Hollywood star, dark or so on. He looked like any ordinary uncle. This hitman, yeah.
Not a Jason Bourne, basically.
No, yeah, of course not.
So closer to home, you also did an interview with a retired policeman who investigated a case during the 1970s, right?
Yes. Mr. Davy Chan, retired Police Gallantry Award winner. He told me how in the 70s, early 70s, he investigated a case whereby this upset winner of an illegal 4D operation, won only about half or less than half of his $60,000 winnings. So he sent a hitman to, I think the first round was to just give a warning that you should pay up. But the illegal 4D operator called the winner to say you should send someone more heavyweight, So the hitman got angry, came and fired 5 rounds, but they all missed. So this one wasn't a good example, and he escaped. The illegal 4D operator escaped. But I think the point was, back then, during the cowboy days, there were such people around. But you don't see them like on advertising billboards or, dial 1-900, get a hitman or something like that. It's all by word of mouth, through gang connections and organized crime. Yeah.
So now we're talking about the bad people that you can find on the dark web, but there is also a group of people who are known as the white hackers, like
Mr. Chris Monteiro. Yeah, he was the one actually who, as early as 2016, he's based from in the UK, and he made it a point to expose fake sites. And I think he was especially excited or fixated on the idea of hitmen for hire online. From the hacked materials that they've seen and from other researchers working on the same subject matter, they could tell that it was all a scam. That the hitman administrator, they just wanted as much as bitcoins as possible, because there were orders, but there was nothing going out to assign hitmen. So they knew it was all a fake. All these sites were fakes.
I understand that Bitcoin is the mode of payment on the dark web as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what is the takeaway? So even for these white hackers, they have been, so after he reported this to the authorities, I understand that the authorities then warned him, okay, please don't go back to the dark web. But he's doing something good, isn't he?
Yes, it's subjective. You know, he wants to do it. He has a social, as a social cause, to warn people to stay out. You know, you don't know what you're getting into, and I think in the end, it is a crime. Your intention to kill a spouse, a former lover, business rival, those are the things that these researchers have found out and shared with us, the Straits Times, about what they've seen, who these people are, and they're from all over the country.
So the biggest takeaway is it's risky, don't take a gamble.
Yes,
and it's
of
illegal.
course. Yeah, and you might be found out one day. Yes.
Right. Thank you so much, Zaihan.
Thank you. Welcome.
So to read Zaihan's stories about the dark web and more on hitmen, do log on to straitstimes.com. Now for our next segment, Malaysians have been witness to a growing spat and then an attempt at reconciliation between Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim and Datuk Seri AZMIN Ali over a sex video scandal that blew up in June. Mr. Anwar is the president of Parti Keadilan Rakyat, while Mr. AZMIN, his deputy in the same party, is Malaysia's Economic Affairs Minister. Mr. AZMIN was at first implicated as one of the two men shown in the video engaging in sexual acts. Now, former PKR youth leader Haziq Aziz has confessed to be in the video and claimed that the other man with him was Mr. AZMIN. Last week, the police said that they could not identify the people in the video, effectively clearing Mr. AZMIN. Here to tell us more about the tense relationship between Mr. Anwar and Mr. AZMIN is Assistant Foreign Editor Lim Aileen. Hi, Ali.
Hi.
So what exactly have the two men been fighting about?
You know, it's like that signature scene in a John Woo movie. I don't know if you're probably too young to remember John Woo movies, but you know, you have the two men facing off with their guns pointed at each other's heads, and you get the sense that neither of them is going to be walking away unscathed from the confrontation. So, of course, this is a war of words. No guns were involved. Basically, Mr. AZMIN has said that the video is an insider plot designed to destroy his political career, implying that it was Mr. Anwar and his supporters who were behind it. Mr. Anwar has denied any allegations that he was the so-called alleged mastermind, but he had said that if Mr. AZMIN was found to be in the video, then he should step down as Economic Affairs Minister. Now, the police have said that while they cannot verify the identities of the people in the video is very likely to be authentic, and they have said that a leader of a political party has paid hundreds of thousands of ringgit to produce it.
Okay, but they're from the same party in the ruling coalition, so shouldn't they try to get along and work together?
Yeah, so this is the party president and his deputy. They are the largest party within the ruling coalition. The political observers say that the rift between the two men actually began over 5 years ago after the 2013 general elections, when there was a tussle within the party to work out who was going to be the Menteri Besar of Selangor. Now, Mr. AZMIN eventually took up the post, and he has been a rising political star since. Today, the observation is the tussle between the two men is over who becomes the next Prime Minister. Now, Mr. Anwar is the designated successor to Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad. However, Mr. AZMIN has been given the very powerful economic affairs post. And he has also, there is talk that he is the blue-eyed boy of Dr. Mahathir. So this seems to be where the two rivals are tussling for now.
I understand. So what happens now? The video is out there, but Mr. AZMIN has not been implicated. He's been, well, kind of cleared. So what's going to happen right now?
It looks like the two men have packed away their guns. They have backed away slowly. And they have both agreed that they should work together as a team, both in the interest of the party as well as for the country. So olive branches seem to have been waved. But I think most of us who watch Malaysian politics would know that there is never a dull day in Malaysian politics. There could very well be a sequel. Both Mr. Anwar and Mr. AZMIN held separate Thanksgiving prayers last night at separate events with their supporters within the party. Mr. AZMIN has also said that he is loyal, but his loyalty has its limits. He didn't expand on that, so we'll just have to take that for what it means. Meanwhile, the police investigations continue to determine who are the people, the so-called people involved in the offences of committing unnatural sex acts. In Malaysia, gay sex is still illegal. And of course, there is also a separate offence about distributing obscene material on the internet. So those investigations are still being carried on. Don't forget, there are still two very key people in police custody at the moment. One of them is Haziq Aziz, who was the person who claimed that it was Mr. AZMIN in the video with him. And the other person is Mr. Anwar's political secretary, Farhaj Mubarak. So it remains to be seen whether anyone from the party will be prosecuted in relation to the video. So do watch this space in the Straits Times.
So when you said that it could be a sequel, it could be the conclusion to this video. So hopefully the whole affair can be wrapped up quickly.
Could be, yes. Yeah, I know Singaporeans like a conclusion. They want a very neat story. They want 10 findings, and that's it. But again, this is Malaysian politics. So when I say a sequel, this might die down. The sex video might die down. But I think the grand prize being who will lead the country next, you could see the sequel in a different form.
But surely this whole affair has damaged the reputation of the party, and how will it change the public's perception of the party?
Yeah. So even Prime Minister Mahathir has stepped in to basically tell them to stop squabbling, and especially stop squabbling in public, because it looks very bad for a first-term administration to have this kind of power tussle going on in the public eye. I think there was a story last week that the average person on the street in Malaysia is tired of reading all about the bickering. They want the administration to carry on with governing the country and addressing issues that affect your everyday voters, things like cost of living, the economy, climate change. We have water shortages in the capital city, things like that. So yes, but hopefully if they quieten down, they should be able to recover from the fallout.
I hope so too. Thank you, Eileen.
Thanks.
Thank you. Now for our last segment. Today, Hong Kong's leader, Carrie Lam, made known her condemnation on the attack on China's main representative office in the city, which happened on Sunday. She also condemned the attack by criminal gangs on ordinary citizens and protesters at a train station in Yuen Long. To discuss this further, I have regional correspondent Elizabeth Law with me. Hi, Liz.
Sorry, I don't have any movie anecdotes to make about this.
Yeah, there was a theme going on, but that's okay, no problem. So there are criticisms that the police took too long to respond to the attack on citizens at the train station, and witnesses said that men in white shirts and black shirts, they appeared to target those dressed in black, and those dressed in black had been at an anti-government march. So is this really an attack on anti-government protesters?
Well, the short answer to this is yes, because this is not the first time we've seen it. Previously, at a previous pro-government rally, we've seen these white-clad protesters actually be quite aggressive. They were heckling the anti-government protesters. They were even taunting them. They were threatening to. They got quite aggressive towards them. So this is not the first time, but this is the first time actually that we're seeing it get so serious, and it's quite a lot of blood if you see the pictures from last night. So yeah, I mean, the scenes that you saw, I don't know if we've seen any videos from it, but basically these are guys chasing the protesters down through the MTR station with sticks. It's basically a scene out of a movie, and it was quite horrific. So yeah, it is very disturbing. Of course, Carrie Lam has condemned it, as you said earlier, and she's promised investigations, but obviously this has done nothing to soothe tensions in Hong Kong.
It's like a real life police Hong Kong movie, actually.
Yeah.
There you go, I've got a reference for you there. So why did the police take so long to respond to the clash?
Well, during the same press conference earlier this afternoon, Police Chief Stephen Low had actually said that his policemen are all very stretched, because obviously this protest has been going on for weeks, number one. Number two is that we know for a fact that 4,000 police officers were deployed in Hong Kong yesterday. Most of them were deployed on Hong Kong Island, where the main protest was going on. And of course, this thing in Yuen Long was like a satellite event. Yuen Long from Hong Kong Island, as a point of reference, about 30 kilometers. So that's about not halfway, sorry. It's actually almost the entire length of the Singapore Islands. You can imagine how long it took for the police to get. He said that the police officers had to be redeployed from Hong Kong to Yuen Long. So by the time they responded, it was like 40 minutes later. And of course, in this 40 minutes, since the first incident report, these men in white were still going around, which is the irony of the men in white, were going around with their sticks and really chasing after anyone who was dressed in black, chasing after journalists. There was one journalist who was conducting a live stream when literally she was beaten up by these thugs live while she was doing her Facebook thing. So it was absolutely horrible. Sorry, horrible, not horrible.
Right.
Yeah.
And there was also criticisms on how the 999 hotline was handled.
Yeah, so lots of people were saying that they couldn't get through on the 999 hotline. When police officers actually picked up, they just said things like, "Oh yeah, we know about it." And the worst of all was the fact that one police officer picked up and went, "Oh, if you're afraid, then just don't go out." Which is, I mean, here you are trying to get home and you see these thugs running around, and then you try and call the cops and this is what they do to you. I mean, obviously, people are very upset about it.
I understand. So what would it take for these violent clashes to stop? And will China step in a more forceful way, or maybe not so forceful way?
Well, that is actually two questions. So to answer the first part of your question first, the short answer is I don't know. No one really quite knows, because I think for this to move on, I think the Hong Kong government needs to make some concessions. But what concessions are there left to make? Can they try to give some sort of incentive for this to stop? We don't know. It looks like quite an impossible situation now. To the second part of your question, you asked whether or not China might step in a more forceful manner. Probably not. Not at this point, because a lot of people are worried, and especially whenever there are big protests or violent events like that, people keep spreading these messages of pictures of tanks, they say Chinese tanks that are moving into Hong Kong, and they obviously are very worried that something like Tiananmen might happen. But we have to remember that Hong Kong today is not Tiananmen in June 1989. There are a lot of things at stake. There are a lot of international interests there. Financial interests, companies, and all of that. So China, knowing that, can't just move the military in like that. And secondly, I think the climate is very different, and China has a lot of other things to deal with. Of course, Hong Kong is important to them, but I think the military option is not one that is a high priority at this point.
But certainly we hope something can be done about the gangs that have been going out beating up people.
Yeah.
Hopefully that can be fixed soon. So thank you so much, Liz. I understand you also have a Twitter account. It's Liz Law, and also Claire Huang, our colleague, is on the ground in Hong Kong. So it's Claire Huang INC, both at Twitter. So if you want more up-to-date news on what's happening in Hong Kong, please log on to straitstimes.com or to the mentioned Twitter accounts. So those were our top stories for today. For more news and videos, do log on to straitstimes.com. Once again, I'm ALYSSA. Join us again tomorrow, same time, same place, for more big stories.